Good afternoon, Richland College. Welcome back to the Philosophy Club Radio Hour. It is 1:08 p.m. Wednesday. It is the last week of classes.
Oh.
Yeah, so people are
So sad.
looking a little baggy-eyed, pulling some all-nighters, and those are just the professors. Thank you. You are listening to KDOX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. Views expressed on this show are my own, unless otherwise stated, and do not reflect the opinion of KDOX Web Radio, Richland College, or the DCCCD. All right, guys, here we are again. Happy to be here. Let's
Do
go right.
some introductions.
Yeah, I guess we can do some introductions. We'll start in the far end down there.
Hi, I'm Alan Watts. You might know me otherwise as the man who pushes carts.
Welcome, Cards.
All right, so I'm the philosophy major, Mary B. Romer.
And nice. Welcome. I don't know which name I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say Raul because, and I'm the co-host and part of the Philosophy Club. Welcome, I guess.
Welcome, I guess.
Take it away.
I'm Caleb.
Amazing. My name is Joe Rogan. I have another podcast. It's one of the best in America, the Joe Rogan Experience. Check me out.
I watch your podcast.
Thank you.
Pretty
I
good.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be having some special guests. Naruto Uzumaki is going to be flying in from the Leaf Village. So tune in, the Hokage, 7th Hokage. Tune in next week.
What about Boruto?
Boruto, that kid can stay home. But there you go.
Mr. Rogan, why did you publicly blast Carlos Mencia for being a joke stealer? Why was that a prudent move?
I feel like nobody else was willing to as a comedian, but
he
was stealing jokes, and I'm going to be the man to do it.
You got to step out there, call him out on it.
I have to call him out on it, or it's just going to keep happening. Are you okay with injustice keeping going in life?
Absolutely not. Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, young bull peacemaker.
Nice.
Here I am, Professor Mancy,
Professor Bull.
back in full effect here, hosting the radio hour. And yes, I am tired
From the Bull
of
family.
all of this. I'm just so tired. No, I'm just joking. This is going to put a pep in my step. I'm the faculty advisor of the Philosophy Club. Let's keep it moving. To my right.
I'm Agnes.
Get real close to the mic.
I'm Agnes, philosophy student.
Welcome, Agnes. Agnes is a student in my ethics class.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Chess, Philosophy Club member.
Welcome, Joe.
Officer, she's the treasurer.
Welcome.
Welcome, Jess.
We treasure our treasurers.
Okay, wow. Okay, guys, here we are. She is a little treasure, isn't she? Jeez, I can't talk. Okay, guys, real quick shout-outs. I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. You guys are going to have to carry me through this one.
The co-host.
All right, a couple shout-outs. I got one shout-out here is I will be giving a public lecture tomorrow in the Brazos Art Gallery from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. I've got the promo flyer right here. I'll be happy to show you. Designed by my wonderful Lee faculty chair, Louisa Benton. So there is that.
Nice.
Yes.
So great talk.
The talk is called, and this is again the final installment in the Contemporary Issues in Philosophy and Religion lecture series, which we have every semester here at Richland. Michel Foucault's Anti-Platonic Socrates. Ooh. Care of the self or Delphic know thyself.
I think Mario Maurice is going to have a lot of things to talk about that.
It's Mario.
I hope so.
Mario.
A controversial topic.
I will be sure to not call on him.
Oh.
I'm just joking, Mario. Okay, guys. Any other shout-outs?
I shout out, I am Joe Rogan. I shout out Brazilian Top Team North Dallas, Quite Road. Come learn how to give people arm bars. Come learn how to choke people out for self-defense reasons. Kickboxing also. Gi and no gi.
Okay.
There you go.
Fantastic.
You had me until you said for self-defense.
All right, guys.
Use it how you want to.
And just in general, let's shout out. This is it. This is the end of the academic year, folks. Starting from, I guess we started in late August 2016, and we're just rolling down the minutes, the final few hours of this academic year. it has been quite a journey, folks. So shout out to everybody who's just finishing up, and shout out to our graduates who will be graduating in a couple weeks.
Shout out
out.
to everyone that has been part of the philosophy club for this past semester.
Yeah, good call.
Year.
Good, yeah. Shout out to everybody who's helped out and chipped in. Administrators, obviously. I don't know why I'm saying the goodbye now. We have another episode next week,
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, we do. We're going to, Jackson, keep the studio open during finals week. So
Oh,
we're going to meet
cool.
one more time, yeah.
What's up?
Jess, do you want to let Hassan in?
No, we don't want to let
Hassan
Hassan in.
in? Okay, we got one more. You guys.
His name is Henry in America.
Sorry, inside jokes.
Hassan, if you want to grab a chair in there and then just bring it over here. Okay, guys.
The name of a Muslim philosopher, his name in Muslim is Ibn Rushd, but in English his name is Averroes.
You get too
You
much.
got too much.
Let's start on the topic. Let's get into
Yeah,
the
let's
requack.
All right, so here we go, guys.
You have to do the
Bringing back the
quack,
duck bill.
the OG quack.
The OG quack. I'll hear an OG quack.
Hold on to the mic, dude, with him, so he doesn't drop it.
Oh yeah.
Be supportive.
Yeah.
Mario is tiptoeing down
In
the
his
fine line
Jordans.
of being banned from the studio. and not so.
Tiptoeing in my Jordans.
Oh my god.
Boy. Hassan, I think we can squeeze you in over. Try to get in over there
Nice.
between.
It works now.
Do you even know my
Actually, yeah,
name?
Maybe you can squeeze in here.
I don't know.
You remember?
Try to get in over there.
Yeah, you can come
Yeah.
here.
Alright, cool.
What's up, ladies? Yeah, here's good, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that the Muslim philosopher Ibn Rushd, his name in English is Averroes.
Yeah, Veroes.
Yeah,
Can't say
Averroes.
any of
Yeah.
that.
Okay, guys. So
cool.
segueing into
You want to move a little
Monday's
bit
topic.
so he can.
I'm cool. If I need to talk, I'll let you guys know.
You good?
I'm cool.
Oh, cool.
Alright, good deal.
Dude, he has no chill.
Is the broadcast started?
Huh?
The broadcast started?
Yes.
Yeah, we're live.
Move forward a little bit, Hassan, so that you're not just this floating
Hasten.
hair. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, guys. So this past meeting's topic was I think a pretty good one. So again, it was inspired by Mario's suggestion of reactionaries. Mario's suggestion of reactionaries versus radicals. And then it kind of burgeoned into this this topic of innovation versus tradition. And so the question really became a question of what is originality or what is innovation? Is innovation by its very nature tied to tradition? In the same way we asked ourselves, well, is a radical, which is to say a radical break from tradition, really all that big of a break, all that significant? Or in the radical, by breaking from tradition, is he not responding to said tradition and therefore is influenced by it? And what's more, again, the reactionaries, as Mario put it last time, sometimes they would like to return to a more traditional, status quo of things. And in that aspect, they are almost certainly, indeed, I guess, influenced, if not directly influenced, certainly by tradition. And therefore, is a reclamation project tantamount to innovation? Or is it tantamount to, again, recycling? Or maybe an attempt to refine after dusting off some old, antiquated
But
position? Yes.
like, are you referring to like an ideology perspective, or in terms of, I don't know, technology or society in general?
Yeah, well,
I would say this in general because also you might be against a technology that you believe is brand new and you want to be back to the old technology. Like for example, what if you want a person who wants to ban all? Because there's a group of people who probably want to ban cars and they want to still ride wagon because I don't know where we can find out, but that's also possible. And that's a form of like a reactionary, I believe.
I'm right here.
Hashtag Elon Musk, boring company.
I mean, that really doesn't have anything to do with it, but
It doesn't. What I'm saying is that if you go to the YouTube video,
put
a
him
lot
in
of
his
pe-
place.
a lot of people will be like, "Nah, it's impossible. He won't do it. He's not gonna do that. He's just scamming people." But I kind of believe him. You know, like, have you seen the
What are we
video?
talking about?
It's like-
okay. I know what you're
yeah.
referring to. Elon Musk wants to solve the traffic problem by digging tunnels that will allow people to move quicker.
Yeah, but it's not like just digging tunnels. He has like a
boring machine. Yes,
Yeah,
I've seen it.
Yeah, but the question is, would that be radical or reactionary? Because remember, we talking about radical and
I'll say
reactionary.
radical.
Why?
Because first of all, it's something that has never been done, and people would go against it immediately. Like, they don't even heard the project or something like that, or what the cost, or what it could save, or the time stamp that they would do that. they're just against it because they think it's not gonna work.
Because
Right.
it's so different. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say it's probably both. It's a reaction, to a current problem we have, but it's not a. It's a radical reaction in a sense, or a reaction that causes people to
A red action.
a rad action that
Rad action.
is not only a reaction but defies the status quo in doing so.
Yeah.
And in what form would it be a reaction? Because like he said, it's not something that we ever done, like plan to actually dig a tunnel in the cars.
Right. Well, just simply a reaction to a problem. He sees a problem and he reacts to it with
Right.
solution.
Yeah, but the evidence. What in the past? Tell me someone in the
So
past who's done
reactionary
that dig a tunnel to do something like that.
reactionary is like
Bring
people
something that-
trying to do something that has been done in the past, thinking that is better than what's in the present.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like-
As he's defining it. Yeah.
Like the good old days.
The good
Really
old
good
days.
old days.
And then
Understand.
radicalism.
The mindset of like good old days. I
Okay,
guess.
so we're trying to figure out the difference between radicalism and reactionary.
Is
Well,
that it? Is that it?
Sort of.
That's
It's
pretty much it.
Oh, okay.
yeah. That's I mean that's the long and short of it. But even a little bit more so, it's this understanding of again, what I think you asked the question there, Jay. What can qualify somebody as a quote unquote radical? It
Yeah.
would seem like it would be
Oh,
this radical departure, but again, you're departing from something. So
Yeah.
it seems like even in departing, you are still reacting or responding to the inherited tradition. It's just a radical rejection.
That's
there.
a must.
It's the same thing with SpaceX. People like,
Yeah.
but NASA has always done everything space related. Why would they need another company? And
Yeah.
what? And a lot of people were against that in the first place. But now opinions are changing, and I think that happens with a lot of things nowadays.
Yeah,
Well,
certainly.
I think success changes the opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people,
absolutely.
Once they see, like, oh, this is a bad idea, then it works. And they say, well, maybe it's not so bad.
So answering the question of your car, like I would say that probably like like you said, it is a mix of both because the radical will be that it's something brand new, like digging a tunnel, the car will go in there. But the reactionary will be something that we actually done in the past, like trying to capture criminals by just digging the tunnel so they will fall in there.
What?
So that probably will be the reactionary, doing action that will affect everyone in a negative way.
Well, it's pretty similar to what
Why
we've
negative?
in a way what we've done in the past. Only the difference is instead of going over the current existing traffic, we're just going under it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, again, so getting back to, I guess, maybe the broader theme here of innovation
Yeah.
versus tradition. Again, is there even such a thing as a real innovation that is a radical kind of brand new thing, or is innovation?
It's to
always
build
gonna
off of
respond-
something.
Yeah.
You know what? We could the topic we had a few weeks ago, the chip.
Oh, okay. There you
A
go.
lot of people could see that and have a reactionary reaction to it and say, no, we don't have that. We don't need that.
Exactly.
That's not natural.
A lot of
for-
people did have that reaction.
Yeah.
You can stay humans completely.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you talking about things like CRISPR?
No. Like, so there was a company. Where was it?
Europe,
Sweden?
somewhere in
Sweden.
Europe.
Sweden. That they invented like a chip where they put it over here in your hand, and that would be used to do like things you already can do with your phone, like NFC payments
We're on reruns.
and
Mhm.
yeah, things like that. But
Be a
it would
projector.
just be in your hand.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you wouldn't have to carry a wallet or things like that, or a sensor.
Yeah, it was innovation in the name of convenience.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
In order to allow you to maximize your time, basically working at that company and meeting those companies' objectives.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, look, if you had to think of reasons for reacting or reasons for radically breaking, what would those reasons be typically?
Oh yeah. So I
Push
think
for
I,
the
want, I,
better.
ca- I think I can answer the question using Raul's example. Raul. That's good. So I would say that. So basically, using the example about the
Warrior.
chip, I would say that it's actually both. The people agreeing to implant the chip are being radical because it's something brand new
Okay.
that they're doing. But the people who don't want to implant the chip, they're being more reactionary because they're like, no, we want to still maintain the idea like back then, which is we know chip inside of our hand. So I say in both groups, like in this case, the people in favor will be radical, while the people against it will be the reactionary thing. They want to maintain the same idea before, which
Okay.
is no chip.
And that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I wonder if typically a radical break comes from a sense of
Displeasure
displeasure
with the current situation.
unjust, I guess, factors are compelling you guys to break radically. Usually there's a sense of urgency perhaps behind it versus something like, so I think they tend, this is how revolutions start. So I think radicals tend to be revolutionaries as well. And so it's this notion of, if you have to break with something so radically, sometimes there's a bit of impulse behind it because, again, there's this sense of urgency. So it's like, this is not working, we need to stop now. Versus something like reactionaries seem perhaps, and I'm not sure we can toy with this. Reactionaries are more along the lines of, they're considering the what one might call an innovation, another might just call a mutation, or worse, a corruption, or just a.
They're displeased too.
Yeah, there's displeasure as well, perhaps, but there need not be. It seems like maybe they're taking more time, arguably, or they have the opportunity to react to a new developments. And because I think you could be an innovator and a reactionary, and you could be somebody who hates innovation and be a reactionary because you're reacting.
Yeah. So also another thing that it can be considered another example of radical and reactionary is the idea of name translation. Because probably it's radical to believe that your name is the essence of your personality, and then it's reactionary to say no, we must mention it the way it was done in the past.
Okay, yeah, that's from a previous conversation prior to the program starting. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly apply it to that. I think so.
Yeah, because in this case, that may sound like too reaction to be like, no, Mario, you sound too reaction, and you still want to mention the whole system of translating names along with everything, and then say and then I would say like, you guys are being radical because you want to mention that name. You want to break away from that system of translation.
Is one better than the other?
Yeah, and that's the question: is there a way you can objectively value one versus the other? And saying is one.
It's more perspective.
Yeah, they could both be just as equally correct.
Yeah, and again, it can come down to matters of what is and is not officially your name. So, on your birth certificate, that's technically your name, but you can have that. You can have your name changed, of course. And once upon a time, names served a purpose. So, usually your last name was what it was that you did. So, I mean, my mother's maiden name is Pastor. Probably, back in the day when my relatives were
colors.
in, Sicily and or Italy, they were probably pastors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
probably, yeah. Yeah, but that'll be another topic we can discuss a little bit.
I think so.
So going back to the reaction and the radical.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah. Sorry.
Speaking of an overreactionary.
Yeah. So the question is, how because he said that both can be equally correct, but what about slavery, like the institution of slavery? What if there's a group of people who want to bring back slavery, and we all call them the reactionary? Wouldn't be that something that is equally correct to do?
Well, it depends on the perspective. If you're looking at it from the current general perspective of Americans, that's a unjust thing, but from their perspective, it might be the right thing. It might be the thing that we were originally doing.
Yeah.
So it's still from perspective, but it depends on which perspective you're looking at it from. Because to them, we're radicals. To sit in the room with so many different colored people, that's a radical idea, but that's radical for them, but they want to be reactionary and have it back when there was slavery and segregation and things like that. So it is perspective, which perspective you look at it from.
So the question is it equally justified or not equally justified in this case?
It's not justified at all.
Yeah, it's definitely not justified.
Well, in the case with slavery, you might not be able to justify it versus, with something like a name. Which name should we call you by? That could be something that there could be multiple correct answers to.
So that means
when you get to something that, when I guess rights in a sense to use, not to get too political, but when rights become involved, that's when you have differentiation over whether something could be objectively right or wrong.
Yeah, but what if someone wants to submit to slavery or do something like that? And what if a group of people want to submit to that form of system of slavery?
What do you mean? Like they want to be slaves?
Yeah, a whole group of people together.
That's
it's like a commune sort of thing.
Yeah, but in this case, in that case, people end up doing that. Would that be radical if they end up doing that?
Slavery.
Or would that be reactionary if people accept to do that?
Yeah, it's not slavery if they're willingly doing it. If they're just doing work for no money, and I mean, I don't know exactly what defines slavery.
They call those interns.
Yeah.
Will that be a radical or reactionary?
Yeah, in this case, people submit.
It could be reactionary, or it could be radical, because I mean, it's not exactly how it was in the past. Slaves in the past didn't get to sign an agreement with slave owners. So that's a radical
good point.
twist on a reactionary
Yeah.
movement.
All right, and guys, so again, continuing on the requack here, some of the other things, just to throw them out there for to jog our memory. What else did we talk about? Really, I guess just this idea of even on the individual level, is it entirely possible to, I guess, radically reinvent yourself?
Yes.
If you, but then again, because it wasn't necessarily met that way in the club meeting. Because again, because the question would be this, just to throw it out there. Well, I mean, you're still responding. You're reacting to what you once were, and you're rejecting that. So you want to make big changes. But there'll always be people who are like, as you're invested in making the change in yourself, no, that's not you. You're acting disingenuous. This is really what you are.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I was listening to NPR.
What's that?
A couple weeks ago, National Public Radio, 90.1. Plug for them.
Our competitors.
Yeah, totally. No, but there's a story
We're
about.
way better.
There's a story about a Ku Klux Klan Grand Dragon, which is the top guy, and sorry, his name slips my mind, but they were talking about how he had, or it was a Jewish guy on who was talking about how he had made friends with this guy, and hand in hand with Ku Klux Klan, he's also a neo-Nazi, so this Jewish guy would constantly try to befriend him and
Try to stand camera, guys.
be nice, and eventually this guy came to the Grand Dragon came to this guy and said, I can't do this anymore, this is not who I want to be anymore.
Wow.
And he made complete 180, converted to Judaism, like apologized to everyone he's ever offended that he could think of, complete 180 in personality, radical change, if you will.
Wow, geez. I mean, okay, so Jess, you were once Jewish. How do you feel about that?
You were once in the KKK.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I thought you told me that once. Okay.
Good job. You know your students very well.
That was a joke.
It's been the whole
I knew that was a joke, but no one said anything.
Yeah.
So
Because we all just looked at her frightened face, and everybody just felt bad instantly.
Okay.
Okay. No, that's an interesting story. So, what do you make of that then?
I think it's probably, you could look at it as a reactionary change, kind of as he started to see tradition, for lack of a better word, a certain tradition, and realized that maybe that was the road that he should go down.
Or he was,
okay.
I think it was more just feeling all the weight of being such.
His character at the moment.
Yeah, his character was not positive, and he was starting to see that. So I mean, in myself, I don't feel like I'm the same person that I was a couple of years ago, and I mean, I don't necessarily see it as radical change, but I mean, it's definitely changed.
Yeah, and good. I like that because this gets to something else that we were quacking about on Monday, namely that in hindsight, history will provide you with a greater perspective. So what might seem like a radical break in the present moment, you'll be able to contextualize it later on and say, oh no, this was still clearly a reaction to this. And even on an individual level, looking at your personal history. I might feel like a totally different person now, but then 30 years from now, I might reflect on who I am today versus who I was at the age of 15 and be like, oh no, I see the continuity there. So it's like the broader the context, it seems like the more capable we become of looking at everything as more or less reactionary, and nothing is really radical.
It's like when you notice, like inconsistencies with your behavior, so you're trying to fix that.
Yeah, in a sense, or simply being like, I don't... look, I think you see this first in adolescence when you're like, okay, I just realized it's up to me who I become. Who do I want to become? And then you try this for a few weeks. You try that for a few weeks.
Right.
And this came up in a previous podcast, or maybe a couple previous podcasts. But yeah, looking in more of I guess a big picture understanding, it's like, well... Yeah, it seems like this revolt was a radical, again, reactional, radical break, a radical departure from the inherited form of government. When in fact, when we look back, we could see, oh, there's actually a history of radical departures. Or there's a history of radical reactions, radical breaks. And therefore, they become a bit more, I guess, not expected, but a bit more appropriately understood.
So the question is, are all radicals and reactionary changes good, or there's some that they're bad?
Both.
Like for example,
I think both.
yeah, like for example, the French Revolution was probably a radical change, but it was a bad one because pretty much everybody died and got executed and beheaded.
I say it depends on.
Hmm.
Well, it depends on perspective and history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, if you look at it from England's side, America's, revolution wasn't a great thing.
Stole a country from them.
Exactly. But if you look at it from
Suckers. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at it
Yeah.
from that perspective of an American, it was a great revolution, a great radical change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Also
you have
another
to have
thing.
the context of the situation.
Also for the native, that would have been also a bad thing because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Native
genocide.
Americans,
yeah. And what about the French Revolution? Because for the French, it looked horrendous to a lot of us, but it looked good for someone who believed the monarchy should be killed.
Yeah, it's perspective that
Yeah.
puts it on. But is there a question of whether radicalism is, or like truly innovative thought is even a thing because
Exactly. Yeah.
the foundation, you're reacting to the foundation that's been set. Like, if I don't like the color blue, if I grow up in a household where the favorite color is blue, and then one day I say I hate the color blue, I'm reacting to the household that was put around me, and that's where the thought is being flourished from. Is that one of the questions?
Yeah, well, I think so. And this also took a large chunk of the conversation on Monday. Again, what is originality something that's even possible, like true originality? Or is originality always necessarily tied to a particular tradition or a particular context? So really, even everything that's original is more or less derivative.
I would agree, because like even if you take when you think innovation, one of the biggest things you think today is technology.
Exactly.
With phones, if you look at phones, phones just were derived from communication and older radios, which you can just trace communication back to the earliest times when we talked face to face. It needed a better way to communicate.
Yeah, you're combining two existing ideas or more into one, and then you keep doing that. I guess, right?
And you've innovated. Yeah.
It's like features on a phone. First you have the gimmick, and then it starts building up, and then the next version of the phone will have like an actual, I don't know, iris scanner.
Yeah. Like we've gone even in cars from horse and buggy to self-driving cars.
Yeah.
We've gone even in war from, again, horses and
Okay, I
steers
have
to-
a question. So do you think, like for everything radical, do you think there will always have like a counter reaction to it, even if everyone is aware that this usually happens? Like for example, I don't know, laws change, or not laws, but like for example, technology. Let's say someone makes a technology that's better for everyone, but will there always be someone against that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Always someone will be on the contrary.
I would say yes. There will be always someone against. Like whenever a change is brought, there's always gonna be against the change.
Hey, thanks for coming, dude.
So I would say that yes, there's always gonna be someone against the change.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, like right now, we have climate change, pretty scary change going on, and there are so many people against it. Whether it's for
For personal
or financial reasons, there are still people against it. And that can go for anything. Like with self-driving cars, I mean, I can ask like, I mean, this is just a number out of nowhere, but like I would think around like 50% of people would probably say, no, I'm not comfortable being in a self-driving car. I want to be steering it myself.
Right.
But in reality, it's much safer to let the car
issues.
drive itself.
Yeah, I would say the same thing because there's some people who hate the fact that there's automatic car. They prefer the
manual shifting.
the manual shift, and they're like, I like doing the manual shift because it's more safe and everything. While if I do the manual, it's pretty much not safe and it's boring. So it also depends on the reason.
I drive manual. I think it's fun. That's
I
my
drive-
only reason.
I drive a
I don't
fighter
think it's
pilot.
Safe, though. I don't think it's safer.
Oh,
Probably
not.
is. I mean, like if someone's falling asleep at the car can't fall asleep.
That way, yeah.
Car can't fall asleep on you. A person can fall asleep with their kids in the back of the car, then they're just drifting off the side of the road and die. And they're like,
What a lovely picture.
I love how they die.
yeah.
Well, they're on. I mean, if you think about it, they're on the highway. They're on like the highest gear for the whole time. So it's still that way. They're still.
And a person can't or a car can't start looking at its phone while it's driving, or
Yeah.
and like the self-driving cars are supposed to they're supposed to tell you when you're getting out of your lane. Supposed to tell you like all this type of, or there are cars where like it's assisted driving, not self-driving,
Right.
or like it
And
keeps you on
even
track.
more, like I've seen a video on YouTube of like a guy explaining how self-driving cars would help the traffic
yeah.
so much, because the reaction time between like humans starting the car and like stopping, it would be completely it wouldn't exist. So it would
Do you
be
know-
so faster.
Did you know
Oh,
that
yeah,
there was a
I've seen that.
study where there were like cars in a circle and they were all evenly distanced apart,
Yeah.
and they
I've
were
seen
just
that.
driving, and there was still a traffic buildup. They were all evenly distanced apart.
Yeah,
They were
but
just driving
before
fast.
This has
we
been
before
car
we
talk,
we left
KDUX.
before we kind of, in order to prevent from getting off the topic, so how did we relate it to reactionary and
Exactly.
radical? That's the question.
Or innovation
to be brought up.
Well, because a lot of people like this is a good topic, because a lot of people are
It's
against
open.
self-driving cars.
True.
Like a lot of people, and I mean, some people are not like completely against the idea, but they will be skeptical of it until
It's pretty good.
like 50 years in the future, and that's completely functional.
It's the normal thing.
Yeah.
But again, I think that has to do with the nature of what is being developed there. So again, that's pro safety, that's pro convenience. But I think this gets back to something that Mario's considering. What if we try to institute something now under the guise of innovation that is perhaps malicious or unjust or corrupt?
Like what?
Like
Better guns.
Better nukes.
like slavery.
Yeah,
Like
Safer nukes.
something along those lines, where it's just like we okay, starting now, in the name of curbing overpopulation, we're going to abort every third kid. In the name of innovation.
Those theories have been like their own.
I'm just using
theories.
hypothetical.
Okay. Never
I-
mind.
Yeah, but what if someone does
Would
that?
you say, Jess, you support that?
So the question is, can we still be comfortable with something like that, like happening? Imagine that someone actually does that. Is that still radical reactionary? And can we feel comfortable about doing that?
Yeah, I think so. Well, here's the thing about radical departures is that most people don't feel comfortable with that because it's such a radical is like abrupt. And yet, sometimes
It's
people feel
minority.
yeah, and they feel as though, well, it has to happen now. So, uncomfortableness is going to be part of it. On the other hand, it's also, I think, something very telling that, change in general, I think for most people, is itself uncomfortable. And so any sort of attempt at innovation might inevitably face some sort of
Backlash.
or if not directly a backlash, some sort of opposition or some sort of even, well, let's really think this through. And that could be for the betterment. Again, you think of Rawls's reflective equilibrium. Let's actually see if this is something for the ethics students. Nobody in
His
here.
name's Warren.
Oh, okay, couple, we got John. Sorry, John just walked in. John and then Raul from last semester, and just this semester. And so,
Last semester.
and Hassan. I can't see him anymore. I guess everybody.
He's
Look
like-
those up.
You can see me in the screen.
Who's here again? Okay. So let's go around the room with the introductions one more time.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. So that's that's the nature of things. But something else I want to make sure that we at least consider is this idea of why would reactionaries want to reclaim a tradition that has come to pass, that has passed, I should say.
Mario knows.
Well, I probably would say
I thought you
that.
said blow your nose.
Well, it kind of
Is
it
that coming
probably
across?
depends on the idea, because like one of the famous philosophers said that the most evil sins would be to be bored and lazy. And some people might say, no, this is making our job easy, so we must still like maintain some work. And then reacting against something that's making the work easier or making life easier, saying like that. There's stuff that we shouldn't make life easier.
Okay, that's interesting. Well,
Because for example, like
please
imagine
continue.
that there's a factory and it uses a lot of men to make auto parts. But then suddenly the boss buys a machine that's gonna make the auto parts. That would probably be like a form of reactionary in a radical thing. It would be radical for the boss, like, hey, I'm going to make parts much easier, more money for me. But then it would be a reactionary part for the worker, be like, hey, I'm just gonna lose my job because of this machine.
Sure. I mean, we see that happen.
And then they will try to do something to try to probably ban the boss if they have the power to not have the machine, because they're like, no, I wanna keep my job still happening.
I have a dilemma. All right, so the dilemma is, So, people would be like, I don't know, at companies that have factories in China or whatever. Let's say Nike is like, Nike, you have to close that factory, or like, you can't use child labor. And like, okay, so they fire all the children and they put machines in there. They're like, no, but you just took everyone's jobs. So like, what should they do?
Well, again, I think it comes down to a matter of how thoroughly can you justify
He's
a
wearing
proposed
Nike.
change? Yeah, exactly.
A Nike backpack. Nike backpack, don't lie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Now I see product placement. I do wonder though about because here's the
What's
thing,
your
guys.
phone?
We see
My
this.
phone.
We see this today,
Samsung.
insofar as
Oh, it's iPhone.
you know, we had 8 years of a democratic led house, essentially. I see you later, guys. Thanks for coming. But now we went back to a Republican oriented approach, governmental wise, and a lot of people would say, well, it was Republican prior to 2008, and so is not this reclaiming of the prior sort of guardians of the government, so to speak? Is that not a tacit, or sometimes not so tacit, way of asking for change, a way of asking for change in terms of going back to where we came from originally?
Well,
because this didn't work.
Well, I mean, John now talking here, by the way, but what you're looking at is you've got kind of
welcome,
this.
John.
You've got kind of this thing where we're looking at it and saying, oh, it used to be Republican, oh, it used to be Democrat, as if any of that actually matters. Because a Republican-led Congress can be obstructionist and useless, and then a Democratic Congress can sit around and do nothing as well. But the idea is that things were better when I was in charge, that we're kind of looking at especially a lot.
That was bad.
I'm just going to react to the duck bill.
But
no, but you're making excellent points.
Yeah, no, we have this idea, and I guess the idea of putting things back the way they were, as if it was any better, is normally tied closely with just glorifying the past in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, that's dead air. We can't have that, guys. So yeah. I mean,
It's your fault.
yeah, I suppose it is. So to get back to the point, then it's because I think you're making a good one. You always have to consider the reasons behind any sort of change, and the reasons behind the reaction to said change, and kind of consider the ultimate sources or motives. Therefore, are you out here, Agnes? All right. Thanks for coming. It was great having you.
Goodbye, Agnes. We love you.
So that's basically what I have to say about the changes, because it depends also on the amount of people that they wanna stay on that type of idea from the past or bring it back.
Well,
because what if you're someone who wants to make like designs on the metal, and then you hate the art that there's no design on the metal?
You're right.
Wouldn't that be like a radical? Wouldn't that person be reactioning? Someone who like say, no, we should force all stuff that have metals, like metal bridges, to have designs on it, because this is the way we used to do it back then, like in the nights.
Yeah.
And then you've been like, and then someone said, no, you're being radical because you don't want to allow that. You just want to make your job easier without paying me.
Perhaps, and that would be something like a sort of covert motive. But I think it's more along the lines of, okay, there's a common issue here. We need to figure out smooth transportation around the entirety of our country, for instance. And so perhaps we should build wooden bridges because wood is sturdy and we have it in abundance. We won't run out of resources, and so we use wooden bridges. But then the wooden bridges start to decay and rot, and suddenly one realizes, well, these things need to be replaced pretty frequently. Can we develop a kind of bridge that doesn't need as frequent replacement? Well, metal. So now we try metal. And of course, the lumber industry is furious. But we say, well, this is for the betterment of the country. This is just to be more efficient in what it is we're trying to solve. And then maybe perhaps the metal rusts, or there's some big tragedy like what happened in Minneapolis like a decade ago, where the bridge just collapses, the metal bridge, and the destruction is horrendous.
Yeah.
And so people might be like, well, see, we got to go back to wooden bridges because it wouldn't work. And so this kind of things, these might be the justifications for changing and then going back to an earlier set standard.
If we look at what we're talking about, because we're going back and forth on the bridges, the problem with both bridges, wood nor metal, is that they require the upkeep.
Sure.
And normally we're looking for a solution, and that's it. Math, 1 + 1 = 2. But it's not 1 + 1 = you have to continue to make it 2 repeatedly. You have to continue upkeep on a bridge. And when we look for these solutions, we're looking in this narrow time frame. 2 days ago, my car started. Today, it doesn't. Clearly, I just need to turn the key because that's what starts the car. Instead of saying, oh, well, there's a problem here. I need to perform general upkeep and maintenance. So we keep looking at these solutions as if we say, hey, 1950s tax rates were this and things worked. So clearly, if tax rates are this, things will work. It's a false equivalency there.
You're not looking at the complete picture. You're just taking one piece of it.
Think about it.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask the question, where can we draw the line of being too radical and too reactionary? Or is there a way to draw a line?
Well, and that's what's so funny is that I think you see that, through historical perspectives. I mean, some people who think they're not being as radical as they are, history will prove otherwise. Like, no, this is a much more radical departure than maybe they initially saw for themselves. But, yeah, the other thing to consider is this, guys. Bridge is a very difficult game to win at.
Yeah.
I also want to say this, and it's germane to what we're discussing here. It seems as though, getting back to this initial question of why innovate, why fix what's not broken? Well, then, if we're trying to fix it, it must be broken or maybe can be improved upon. It's easy to talk in terms of bridges and efficiency therein. But I just looked in the camera. I thought Jess was gone. I just stopped here. I thought she snuck out of here. But when it comes to things like, well, here's how we ought to treat people. Here's how people should be governed. Here are their rights, their inalienable rights. And maybe they should be this, and maybe they shouldn't be this. And maybe, when it gets on that kind of personal level, even in a global way, that's when things become especially, I guess, a hotbed for controversy and strong opinions. And so again, I think it's more common to find radicals when the stakes are higher than, say, reacting to something that is arguably less significant to your life. But then again, on the other hand, if you are in the lumber industry, that might be very significant to your life.
Yeah, and also another thing I want to try to the equation, because probably let's agree the maybe it is true that saving two human life is kind of like killing animals, and that's like something that vegans are right. If we decide to ban medicines in order to like let a lot of humans die because we found out that it was something probably, so the change, would that be radical and reactionary, but would that be a justified like change to take a medicine away from all humans and let them all die because we want to go back in the era where we didn't have medicine so we can save more life, save other life?
It would depend on the justifications.
Alternatively, you also have to quantify what each life is worth then. Yeah. So if 2 deer is worth 1 human life and you kill 1 human and save 2 deers, then it evens out, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that's a question I'm trying to ask. Like, where can we draw the line, or how radical and reactionary can we be to justify something, doing something?
So you're advocating for just denying health care to any and all licensed hunters, right?
Probably I'll say yeah. Probably I'll say yeah, because what if you're trying to do a change to benefit another group? Once you notice that the change that you did at the beginning were not the right change. Like, for example, bringing too much medicine, and then you know that, oh, this medicine is good, but the bad thing about it I didn't notice it it's killing animals, so I need to go back to the way it was before.
The problem with quantifying the killing animals debate there that you're saying is that the wolf isn't going to care if it eats you.
Yeah. But what about plants?
We do care.
But what about plants or any other life that is not animal?
Again, no, anything else isn't going to care if it does anything to you. That's the idea of us introspectively looking at this whole situation. So the only real frame of reference that we have is us. We want to preserve nature for us. We want to preserve wildlife for us.
Or if not us, but just the next generation or something. Yeah.
Yeah, us selfishly.
As humans.
Meaning humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why even go through a change? That would be my question.
Probably because you smell it from the diaper and then you make the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do we got? A few more minutes? Okay, good. Well, again, guys, I want to return to this question. Is originality a myth, or is originality contrary to what one typically thinks of it as? I really want to push this idea of innovation as necessarily requiring tradition, because, again, any sort of reaction, be it radical, be it a much more, muted reaction, requires something to be reacted against.
Yeah, it is a reaction. I was going to use the example of the settlers who came to America and tried to change how the government was ran over here as a chance for originality, but if you look at it...
The government ran over something?
Yeah. So how you look at it is...
Sorry.
Yeah. So, like...
Guys, stop talking over.
Okay. So, like, The American settlers came here and they tried to establish. Some people tried to establish religious liberty, as opposed to being killed in or being shunned or killed in the motherland, Great Britain. So they came here and tried to establish it, but at the same time,
The motherland, great.
that is a reaction to Great Britain. They didn't like what they were doing, so they came here and started doing this. But if it weren't for what they were doing, this couldn't have came. Did you turn down my mic?
Somebody had to. No, I'm just joking. No, I think that's true. I think that's a really good way to put it. That's a good example.
Just
Please.
kind of because we're talking about originality there and the idea of is anything ever original. I guess there was originality when the first two tribes
Didn't
of
know each
cavemen
other?
decided not to club each other. That was an original and novel thought. But ever since 10,000 BCE or whenever we decided, there hasn't really been much originality, just new ways of doing old things. So I mean, we can build a house much better nowadays than we could 100, 200, 300 years ago.
True.
But I already forgot the name of them. No, the guys with the hats.
The pilgrims,
Not pilgrims.
Puritans.
No.
Amish people?
Amish.
Rabbis?
Exactly. The
Amish.
The Amish up there
Didn't
still
know what
build
hat he
houses
was
by
on.
hand.
Yeah.
And sometimes their houses are better than the little throw-up, little ramshackle suburb communities that they
These
make.
vomit communities.
Yeah,
Sure.
but the question.
But
so,
is there a quality to that oldness, or is it just that they put more care into it?
So
Is our new way of doing it better?
I would say that it based on the how much we put care on it, because if you're someone who's trying to make money and you just for the money because that's the thing you care of, then you're just gonna make a product that's cheap.
Yeah.
The less material, the less work as possible. Because if you put more work to it, the material the best will be, because you already
And
know
the
work.
demand for it.
Yeah,
If
also
they're making a house for them and their family versus a company making a house for a whole entire neighborhood, there's going to be a difference in the quality.
yeah, and here the question: can even we displace people who love their job? Like even if we build a machine like to replace it, wouldn't that be something
It's up to the business
justified?
owner.
I can
Would-
never be replaced by a machine.
Yeah, would that be a justified reaction and radical thing to do?
What if a machine
To
reads a
rebel against-
textbook?
To rebel against something that you've been displaced on, like
Mhm.
something that you really care.
Shots
And-
fired, EJ.
What?
Anyways,
No, I'm trying to say that in our generation, all we think about is how we do things faster and faster and faster. you
okay,
know?
there you go.
So that all think like now it's so fast, we kind of don't think about reliability mostly, or how efficient or how good it is. Like before, I mean, my culture, we built everything with concrete, and like right now, if I look at this building, I bet it's all wood. Like if a tornado, maybe not this building right now because it's cool, they obviously safer. But my house is all mostly made out of wood, even though you think it's actual, concrete or stronger, but it's mostly wood. So if a tornado were to come through, it would just literally just pass by like nothing. Because why? Because concrete would not be a lot slower, or it will take more time or something like that. As in for wood, it's a lot easier.
This has been Home Improvement on KDUX. Guys, so one last thing, because we only have a few minutes left. Consider what philosophy is. Okay, philosophy is critique. I would contend it is critiquing, and again, not in a to destroy kind of way, but it's looking at what is inherited and attempting to understand the justifications for accepting a certain tradition, be it an intellectual tradition, be it, just your culture, things of that nature. Philosophy is itself, by its very nature, reactionary. Philosophy always comes second to what is already there, and it questions that which is already there. There are considered to be a couple of radical breaks in the philosophic tradition, most of which came about due to, I would say, newfound evidence that would cause us to reflect further on things. And again, ultimately, this is the whole idea. The more we learn about what a human being is, the more likely we are to consider drastic or dramatic changes in our lifestyle, both as an individual, the more you learn about who you are and what you really want out of life, but also in terms of the species. Here's what makes us better. If we were to find out tomorrow that all cell phones cause cancer, we're gonna
Well,
drop
I
cell
guess
phones.
I got cancer
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
forever.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much what
We'll be
philosophy
right
is.
back.
But I would say that's pretty much what philosophy is, but same thing for life, because philosophy is the study of everything, so pretty much it also studies life.
Yeah,
So it'll
exactly.
be pretty much everything.
Well, I guess what I'm driving at is this. Calling back to cars, is that there are certain reasons for reacting abruptly or dramatically that are perhaps not up for debate. There's sometimes radical departures, radicals themselves, they come about because something else external to them really forces their hand and say, we have no choice, we have to make a change. This is kind of how Nietzsche saw it, Uche. And so, how does that compare to something along the lines of reacting? Well, reactionaries, again, it seems like they have the liberty to be leisurely in their, sometimes, not all the time, in their appraisal of the proposed change, but also there doesn't seem to be any evidence that forces them to change, and that's where the debates, why the debates are allowed to take place. If there's no imperative to which everybody can agree, a change needs to be made, then a change perhaps need not be made, and that's the very question. Whereas radicals, they feel like changes must be made. There's something that absolutely, all bets are off. We have to do this, and we have to do this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and there's another question not to add. Can you be both radical and reactionary? Or
I think so.
Yeah, because can you be only both, but only in different issues? That means that you cannot be both in one singular issue.
I think it could be different. Yeah, I think it differs depending on the issue. But I think also radicalism is just a form of reactionaryism.
Yeah, because let's take, for example, the issue, or let's take one example, what I'm trying to say. Because let's take, for example, that there's someone who supports abortion, and that we will call the radical, like, yeah, you support abortion. But then the same person...
Okay, so Mario just said, yeah, you support abortion. That's rad.
Yeah, let's agree that that's radical. But then the same person...
I will not agree that's radical.
No, for the moment, for the sake of
I understand. I'm just teasing.
So for the moment, we agree that that person...
Oh, you really think it is radical, Jess?
It's radical because they believe that abortion is justified. But then that person later, in the next day later, they start preaching that abortion is wrong. So now we said, not if that person is reactionary. So the question is, can you be both, like, on the same issue, like be against in favor and be both, like reactionary, or you just have to be one, either radical or reactionary in this issue?
If there's a scenario where like a person, or if the government said that everybody has to be Amish, is that not both radical and reactionary from our point of view? Mm-hmm. It's radical because it's a huge change, but it's reactionary because it's asking us to go back to how things were before. So it really depends on the perspective that you're looking at it from.
Oh no, the question is, can you be both, like reactionary and radical? Like, can you support both ideas, the one in favor and against at the same time?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, because wouldn't that be bad? Wouldn't that be like a form of hypocrisy? Like, you in favor of abortion, but you also against it. Like, you should just be one and not the other.
That's hypocrisy.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be you cannot be, you have to be radical in this issue or reactionary issue, but you can be both, supporting both ideas.
You can be both in some instances.
I think the issue comes that someone else would have to be keeping score on your opinions at that point, which is entirely different. So if someone's saying, okay, you're 5 points... 5 points reactionary, 5 points radical, or whatever. That's kind of the idea. It's more about someone else scoring your beliefs than.
That was the question I was trying to ask. Like, you in favor of one issue, but you in favor of both being radical and reactionary.
I think that trying to apply it in that scenario doesn't really make sense.
Oh,
in any
all right.
way.
How?
It's just that. Again, the idea of being radical and reactionary is bringing people around to your idea. So if on day 1 you support abortion, on day 2 you don't, you just changed your mind. That's all it was. It's not all of a sudden you're like carrying a radical flag and then you're carrying a reactionary flag.
All right, thank you. You answered my question.
Think about it. That's going to be my new sign-off, by the way, is think about it.
Ponder about it. That's my new sign-off.
Pondrites. Okay, anyways. I got to... That'll do it for the requack. So let's resume discussion then, based upon everything we just...
that was everything.
I know.
Okay.
I don't know where Mike Falcon is, so maybe we can push on a little bit further. What do you think, fellas?
A little bit further.
Bueno.
Excellent. All right, cool. So
I want to try another question. What about individuality? What about individuality?
That's for next week. You can't give them free preview.
Yeah, for being radical. Can you be radical individuality?
I have an announcement to make.
Do individuals get to decide to be radical and reactionary, or do have
Mario,
to be in a group?
Mario.
Sure.
Announcement. I don't really even have an announcement. I'll just try to cut you off.
Okay, so I have a question, guys, real quick. If we could just get to... Guys, it's I do have a question, in fact.
What's your last name?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Menzies?
Little Bull.
What's your middle name?
My middle name's Charles. I don't know what that means. Jeffrey with a G means peacemaker.
Nice.
We were talking about names earlier. So manzo is Italian for like bull or like meat. And so I'm serious. And so Man Z, it means like a little bowl. Or
Little
meat.
bull.
That's why I
I thought
introduced
you were
myself
saying
as
bowl.
Little Bull Peacemaker.
I thought you were saying
With
bull.
meat, like inside of it, meat or made out of meat. What?
Yeah, like made out of meat, like beef or something.
Even
like
though you-
cow.
which
like
you
bull.
hate, and you
Little
hate
beef.
meat. You're a
Little
vegetarian.
beef.
Yeah, you're
Little beef
And he's a
peacemaker.
vegetarian.
Yeah.
Little beef peacemaker.
Stay true to your name.
I know.
What are you doing?
Now he's gonna try out a shawarma.
Have a little
later
bit of
on,
beef.
right?
What's as far as y'all are concerned, my name is Professor. Got it?
As
Okay,
far as
sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
All right, guys. So
What
pushing
does that
forward.
mean?
What does professor mean?
Yeah, what is a professor? So many stupid questions.
Welcome to my world, Hassan. Anyways, yeah. So again, staying on topic, guys. Mario has an interesting question. Is a radical by nature a strong individual insofar as, again, in responding to
martyr.
the tradition and rejecting it, it does appear as though one is really individuating oneself from the rest of society, and then maybe if there's a group thereof, collectively they're doing so. That's an interesting question. I do think we should table it for next week's topic, which is, again, individuality, which
Alright.
spawned from a Learning Connections workshop I held through the Learning Center. Shout out Learning Center. Last Wednesday. Yeah, last Wednesday. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right after we recorded this, in fact. So there's that. But I guess more poignant question, I think, would be the following: what forms is it possible to anticipate radical reactions or innovations?
I would say
Yeah.
I would say that probably
How?
no. I would say that probably no, because if you have something that you, because
I think
people
so,
have
yeah.
something that believe that's ultimately true, and know it always the right way, people will push it. And sometimes it depends on how society reacts, being radical or reactionary.
Well, okay, fair enough. So Uche, you said something else?
I think so. I think that if there is a factual problem in society, it's reasonable to say that somebody's going to try to come up with a solution to it.
Yes, I agree with you.
I'd have to agree with Uche on that one as well, but even
Yeah.
just so far as to say
Yeah.
that if something is there,
Yeah.
someone will question
Take it another
whether
way.
or not it's necessarily a valid question. We can assume that for, say, a small-scale problem, there won't be a large-scale reaction, but there will at some point be a reaction.
Yeah, because someone will also react to defend the idea. They're like, no, we're not gonna change it. We just wanna defend it. So that's also a response.
They double down on it, yeah. on
So
the
it can
tradition.
also be both ways.
You sleeping? Stay with me, Jess. Okay, that's all. Those are very, very sound considerations. I was more thinking in terms of you can project the form that innovations will take precisely by analyzing the present and then the tradition that brought us to the present. Like it's getting back to what we
A
talked about
pattern
before.
type thing?
A pattern, or it's simply, innovations, as we've more or less established, seem to be directly responding to the needs and conditions, crises in some cases, of the present condition. And the reason those crises, those problems arise have to do with the tradition that came before it. And so we inherit both the good and the bad. And innovations will tend to be attempts to plug the holes of the bad while maintaining the good. Unless new evidence, new discoveries come to light that forces us to drastically rethink things and recast our understanding of everything. In which case, the innovations will then be responding to this new discovery, which again never would have happened if not for the tradition of seeking things out. It's like Nietzsche says in the class, Uche. So essentially, Nietzsche learned honesty from Christianity, from the Judeo-Christian values, and then taking that honesty seriously, he decided he had to declare atheism. He had to call, again, to speak colloquially, BS on the inherited religion. But he learned to value honesty from that tradition and then used that to break from said tradition.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
He did. Yes.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I would say that
Snaps.
it also depends, because if you're in a group of people following the same idea for 100 years, you probably are gonna react like, no, I feel like we're following this years, and then we must do something to change it, because it seems like a lot of us humans kind of love seeing action happening or some change going on. It can be on anything like language and everything.
Maybe seeing but not being in it.
Yeah, but probably you probably might enjoy it and be like, no, I'm gonna join it to debate that guy because he's trying to change something.
Yeah.
So it can be both ways. Like we actually love to react and to defend what is being reacted. So it's kind of like we always want to join in.
I think that the more recent historical record will be rather interesting to look back at, say, in the next 1,000 or so years,
Totally.
because if we look at, say, the trends of what we consider the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s, and then we all of a sudden look at more recent trends, we just have a much wider wealth of information. So back in the 1920s, someone might have been out there holding these thoughts and having discussions against saying the Earth is flat or something stupid like that. That's easily
Triggered.
deniable. But it wouldn't have been written down in the record. It wouldn't have been saved. It would have been disregarded. And whereas nowadays we've got record of years where people have these discussions. And so in the future, we may be able to predict these radical breaks because of the amount of information we would have. But I feel like looking at the past, we only have a subset of the information that actually existed.
Yeah.
It looked like actually
Ghost Mike.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
in the
so-
camera shot,
Oh
buddy.
my
So I wanted to
God.
say that it looked like
Jesus
actually
Christ.
in this case it looked like
Can
it's
we
the
push that
group.
chair out the way?
It looked like
Push
it's
that
the group
chair.
who makes everything like basically in this case it looked like it's the group who makes the big changes because like you said it, if it's a one person making a change he wouldn't make a change because it's just one person but if it's a group of people or it seems like it will make the change and then the person we hold up is the person who gather up the supporters.
Okay, no, I think those are both excellent points. But what about this idea that the longer a tradition has to establish itself and really
Deeper
sediment,
rooted is.
the more difficult it'll be to break therefrom. So again, not to continuously reference Nietzsche here, but there's this for Nietzsche. He says very clearly, even though God is dead, there will be shadows of God cast in caves for hundreds and hundreds of years. Which is to say, because Judeo-Christian values they've become synonymous with the West, it's going to become that much more difficult to break from them. And think of it on an individual level. If you have done something or you identified yourself in a certain way for a very long time, and then, science comes out and says, it turns out you cannot microwave things in styrofoam. This is something I had to deal with. But you're so used to, how about this? You can no longer use microwaves. Microwaves will cause you to get sick. I mean, even though you know that, it might be hard to be like, well, maybe just one more time because I'm in a hurry. Let me just pop it in here real quick. Or if it's on a deeper level, if you're just used to picking fights when people disagree with you.
Oh yeah, that is true.
And then you learn that you cannot make friends, you cannot maintain relationships if that's what you continue to do. You've heard it every which way. And yet, if you've done it for like 17, 18, 25 years, it's going to be, even though you know better, it's going to be tough to break that habit.
Well, to kind of talk on what we were talking about earlier with habitation.
I'm not done, and so continue. No, I'm joking. No, I'm totally joking.
Interrupting you is my habit. No, anyways, but
That's
to
Mario's.
go back to what we were talking about earlier with habitation, Aristotle there,
Yeah.
the things you redo, go to a truck show in Texas and tell them they have to trade everything for economical compact cars with 4-cylinder engines, and just
That's a good point. That's a good one.
see what happens. There's going to be a subset that, and then even to go further than that, there'll be a subset who deny potentially the truth based on their notions.
Yeah.
So if you say it's better for the environment and X, Y, and Z, and you'll save more money, then they're going to say, well, I disagree, just purely based on the principle, doubling down, like we had talked about a minute ago. So I think that
that's right.
that it's definitely true, but there will always be a subset of people who want to feel like they're individuals simply based on their beliefs.
Especially if they form their identity from those certain beliefs you're asking them to change, or sometimes demanding that they change. Sure. I mean, it's one of those things where because time marches on indefinitely in perpetuity, there will constantly be occasions and new circumstances that compel us to consider change. Again, on the individual level, on the more community-wide level, on the nationwide level, on the international level. And so there will always be people who want to salvage some remnants of the tradition, rightfully so, and those who want to almost scourge the earth, and then everybody in between. And so it's not something that's ever going to go away. This is one of those classic philosophical perennial questions, this innovation versus tradition. How does one receive a tradition in such a way where one doesn't turn it into a dogmatic sort of tradition, where you're allowed to, I think that's the answer, is to become such that you have these sort of traditional values, you have an awareness of who you are individually, or your society is perfectly familiar with its tradition and accepts it, but the tradition itself is open to change. The tradition itself, what you learn about yourself is that I am somebody who can likely change and change myself if I see fit, when and where. I guess it's a roundabout way of saying keeping an open mind, and being willing to adjust and adapt accordingly.
Yeah, I think it depends also on the way the person's taste of the form of beauty that they desire. Because if it's
I have a
something
question though. I was wondering. I'm sure.
yeah, sure. Because if it's something that you desire a lot and you get used to,
Speaking of taking the medicine,
yeah, if it's something that you desire and you get used to, like doing something because you desire, it's something that probably you're not gonna let go. If there's a change.
Yeah, definitely.
But like for example, for me, I kind of like shellfish platter. So if I even tried to let go of fish fry 1 month, but I couldn't let go because something I actually kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
But something that I'm not used to do is shaving. So that's something that probably something that even though you've done it longer, but it's something that you still hate. But despite the fact that you've done it longer, once you do, there's a change to let go. That's something that you're gonna let go change because something you actually hate doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good observation.
Like for example, me, like if somebody tell me, "Oh, no, men do not need to shave," I'm like, "Oh, cool, then I don't need to shave."
Well, do you really need to shave though?
Well, in my job I do. In my job I have to.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I think that's very accurate, and it ties in beautifully to John's point. This idea of, again, if you value something and then people are telling you need to stop valuing that, you're going to be really reluctant to go along with it, no matter the justification therefore. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Geez, speaking of shaving, I remember. What's that? Oh, you got to go? All right, Jess.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. Take care. Oh yeah, I wanted to make an announcement. I forgot, guys. So we had the fundraiser 2 Tuesdays ago, and I announced in the fundraiser on this radio show that we raised $580 something. I want to clarify, guys. There was actually a recount of the funds. The initial count was off. It turns out we actually raised something around $730. So yeah,
that's a big miscalculation.
I suppose, but in our bank error in your favor, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So guys, that's a lot of money, and we're still selling these T-shirts. So yeah, pretty good, guys. Yeah,
that's the profit.
Be super proud of yourself. That's what we took in prior to overhead. We got to go back and see what the overhead was, but it's still putting us up several hundreds of dollars, which is pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. And again, I'll call out, guys. I'm looking for the entire, and I'll say this again next Wednesday, but the entire leadership board is turning over for the Philosophy Club student officers, and we need student officers to have a club. So yeah, if you're interested in that, let me know, please, because I'm taking names down. And then yeah, is there anything? Oh yeah. Well, does anybody else have anything else they want to say?
Oh yes, I wanted to break an advertisement.
Yeah, sure.
Well, this fall, luckily they're gonna be offering philosophy religion, but it's not gonna be Professor Hugh. It's gonna be a new professor. So I went online to see the schedule for the fall in Richland, and they're actually offering philosophy of religion.
Who's teaching it?
I believe it's a new professor named with an H. I believe it's Haskell.
Oh, okay.
I think I'll look it up, but they're offering naturally religion in the fall. So if you feel a person that want to take the class, you can check in the fall because it was just offered in the spring by Professor Ewis, and not many people are able to join in it because of not being aware.
Yeah, no, that's good. Do any of my students want to plug my classes in the fall?
There's a great professor called Jeffrey Manzi. If you're interested in philosophy, you should take the 1301 class. You'll learn some quality stuff.
Yes.
It might change your life if you have an open mind.
If you want to learn something about ethics but only get like halfway through the book, it's definitely a good class as well.
Yep,
Jack, can we cut that part out of the recording?
So I would say
the first part.
So I would say that you should take Professor Manzi's ethics and introduction to philosophy. One of the I haven't taken.
I have a real good grade on that.
I heard him personally. I heard him speak when I was taking Professor Stalin's introduction to philosophy. So it was like great class.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, because you'd be outside in the hall.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, I yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah, and probably
I'll pay you guys off camera.
Yeah, and probably we can do something special for Richland, which is revive informal logic. But we have to find a way.
We're trying. That's something that is definitely on our mind.
Oh, probably can also add to the equation social and political philosophy because it's part of the curriculum, but something that we can also do for as a philosophy club and as teachers to revive those two classes.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. It's the department is definitely considering doing that as well. They should. Cool. And guys, just one last thing on kind of a somber note. Just our thoughts are going out to the people at Northlake College. There was a shooter. 2 dead, including the shooter. I taught at Northlake for 5.5 years before coming to Richland 3 semesters ago, and so I know a lot of people over there. So I hope everything.
Is this serious?
Yeah.
Just happened.
Yeah, no, this happened about like right before we started. It was happening.
I know. I was getting emails, but I didn't know it was that bad though.
Yeah. So again, just our thoughts are with you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, obviously we'll be monitoring the situation individually.
So here it is. It's gonna be offered Tuesday and Thursday, room 158.
Smooth segue.
It's gonna be offered from Tuesday and Thursday,
Terrible.
room 158. The real hall,
Yeah.
the real 158. And the professor's gonna be Hassler.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Actually, I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be offered from 11 to 12, from 11 a.m. to 12:20 p.m.
Okay.
And it's going to be in the fall, so that'll be philosophy, religion, anyone.
Yeah, guys,
interested?
just check the schedule. It's yeah, I mean, we got a lot of good stuff we're offering in the fall. I'm offering a learning community in the fall. Today's Loss of Innocence, Coming of Age in Contemporary Society. That's a class that's never been offered in the history of Richland. I'm excited to be co-teaching that with Professor Mary Wood. Should be good stuff. Yeah. So I guess so next week's topic then is individuality. Is there any particular aspect thereof that you guys want to focus on?
I think we have enough to focus on individuality. Like, can you be an individual and be against being a collective society?
Can you even be an individual?
Yeah, that was kind of the focus of my workshop is, how
Or you're just good at taking from other people.
yeah, are there certain forces in play in terms of discourse and those who are in power that pretty much give you less or fewer options than you might suspect, or even more so if just you're born in a particular place and time, an episteme as it's referred to by Foucault, you can only be a certain kind of individual. We can talk about that.
Yeah, I know
For
that we
sure.
can also take into account being free will. An individual, does free will being such thing as free will determine you being an individual, but assuming that those questions like about free will and determinism based on individual.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that certainly comes into play as well. Very good. And again, sometimes being an individual means conforming to some extent to a collective. So I want to be, as an individual, I want to be the best Christian I could be, something along those lines, which means WWJD. Okay, guys. So I guess we'll call it now. That was a pretty good one. I probably rank it like a 5 out of 10. I don't know.
Nice.
B
I'm
minus.
just joking.
Nice.
I'm joking, guys. Look, let's be real here, guys. It's the last week of the academic year. Finals is next week. We're running a little low on gas, I think, and everybody is jam-packed busy right now. So I really do thank you guys who are here and those who had to leave a little early.
I don't run on gas.
For coming. Oh, really? It smells differently. But I will say this. So it's really exceptional that you guys carve time out to be here and chop it up with me. So this has been the
It's
Philosophy
fun.
Club Radio Hour. You are listening to KDUX Web Radio, broadcast live from Richland College in Dallas, Texas. We are the voice of Richland College. And you know what? Before I continue on to disclaimer, let me also shout out one last thing. On Sunday afternoon, this past Sunday, I had the great honor of being the guest speaker at the Phi Theta Kappa induction ceremony, which was, again, really, really great. It was the induction of the new Phi Theta Kappa being the honor society here at Richland College. It's a nationwide community college honor society. They have a guest speaker every year, and the student officers extended me the invitation. I was flattered, and I had to give a 7-minute speech. Guys, I had the whole speech all up on my iPad. I stepped up there. I opened it up the speech.
Oh yeah.
I propped up my iPad. I was about 30 seconds into it when the iPad just slipped a little bit. It wasn't noticeable, but it clicked the off button, and the whole iPad just turned off as I was 30 seconds in the speech, which would mean that if I wanted to get the speech back, I would have had to stop speaking and open it up and unlock it. So I just went with my memory
Nice.
and just freestyled it for about 6 minutes. Nobody taped it, for better or for worse. I had the tapes destroyed. No, but I'll say this. You know what? Sometimes when you just speak from the heart like
That's
that,
good.
I think it's really effective,
Improv.
and that's kind of what I did, and hopefully it was well received. It seemed very well received, like all things I do, frankly. Think about it.
Yeah.
And so, I guess, thanks to the Phi Theta Kappa, and congratulations to the Phi Theta Kappa new inductees. Okay, guys, views expressed on this show are our own unless otherwise stated and do not reflect the opinion of KDUX Web Radio, Richland College, or the district. That is the Dallas County Community College District. better know district. Anyways.
Nice.
Great, guys. Anything else?
No.
Okay, we'll see you guys. Well, guys, just so we're clear, the next week, that'll do it for about 4 months for the Philosophy Club radio show. Yeah, because again, I actually just talked to the producer here, Jack Fletcher, and he will be here every week over the summer. So technically, it's open to us, but I don't know who's going to be around and that sort of thing. So in all likelihood, this will because there won't be a Philosophy Club. Hey, what's up, buddy?
It's open for everybody as long as they're registered for fall.
Oh, okay. Good.
Whatever summer semester it is.
Oh, okay. So you have to be a registered student. Interesting.
Right.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay,
right.
just came out correct.
So long story short, we'll be returning in the fall.
Still.
Or maybe not. We'll see what happens. But yeah, okay, guys. Next week will be the season 2 finale.
Yeah.
Season 2 finale. Will Socrates make an appearance?
Socrates is gonna be here.
I hope so.
Socrates and Nietzsche are gonna have a fight, and we're gonna record it.
You know, we had an idea for the season finale last semester, where we were gonna, because they have the television studios here. We were gonna have like we were gonna do like a late night talk show thing. Where like I was gonna be the host and bring up people dressed as Nietzsche and dressed as Socrates, different members. Okay, you guys seem thrilled by the idea.
I would say that would be a good thing to do, but we have to make sure that someone who can address like Socrates has to look kind of ugly. So in order to portray him correctly.
So Mara, you want to be Socrates?
Socrates is ugly.
No.
Hey,
that's offensive. Hey, that came after the disclaimer, so that's how he really feels that way.
Yeah, probably I would display Socrates. I'll be like, I'll probably portray Socrates in this case, but I had to gain weight somehow.
Yeah.
I told Mario I would trade hair with him
Chick-fil-A.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, but then who's gonna portray Nietzsche because we need someone with a long mustache.
I think I
In
can be
glasses.
Nietzsche.
Well, we can always get costume props.
Get some
I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
we don't have
But also, wouldn't that be racist for Nietzsche?
start
then
growing
he
your
was
mustache. Oh,
white.
excuse me, triggered.
Maybe that's right. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because Nietzsche was white, so we had to not be racist to Nietzsche.
An actor can embody anybody's skin, no matter how they look.
Especially
Oh,
when I have
that's
a-
yeah.
that's a
especially when I
philosophical
have the-
debate.
Did you not see The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise?
That's terrible.
Didn't he-
Oh no, the
That
last time I
was
was not Tom
awesome.
Cruise. It was
terrible.
the Chinese guy who committed seppuku.
Seppuku.
Yeah, Tom
What?
Cruise just was helping the last samurai. That's
Seppuku.
Oh, I never actually saw the movie. Anyways, okay, guys. So yeah, that'll do it. Tune in next week, and for the season 8. Season 8? What?
Season
Jeez.
2.
6 seasons in a movie. Yeah, for the season 2 finale, because the season 1 finale was episode 8. But yeah, so we did. Yeah, it's very similar to kind of getting picked up. So the first season we had 8 episodes, and they decided to give us a second season. We went
Whoa.
13. Not too shabby. And then yeah, we'll see where it goes from there.
Next season, we're gonna have special effects. We're gonna have CGI.
And probably you're gonna discuss mathematics.
Yeah.
Of
Yep.
people speaking.
That's a great idea. We
Much
should really look
higher
into that.
production.
Next season, we might even feature a Philosophy Club Facebook page, which is something we've been meaning to get on for about a
Bueno.
year now.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, y'all. That'll do it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, this has been the Philosophy Club Radio Hour.
It's been awesome.
Think about it.